welcome to Experiencing Consciousness. My name is Dyba.
And I'm Dr. Kathryn Rossi. We're happy you're here.
I mean, maybe you can go back as far as remembering being in the crib. You could make sounds, but you couldn't talk. Maybe you can even go back that far.
As for now, and during the whole project, not earlier than when I was like 6 or 7, but I would love to feel a bit like even earlier, but
you never know.
I just don't journey there too much, or I don't remember.
That's okay. It's just we ask questions, and then you never know if you might go back there.
Going back to the crib, where Hubert is not able to express himself in the usual way. He is able in some way, but not in the other way. And my question, I can see two things in here. First one is deepening or facilitating regression, but also isn't that parallel to the difficulty of expressing creativity? But on the other hand, if you are in a crib, isn't that actually similar state but experienced in comfort? And these are my associations. So isn't that actually attaching comfort to inability to express, and on the other hand, ability to express in a different way? So that's also another possibility I can see here. And then there's the reaction that Hubert has, and he says, generally, it means I would like to go there, but I'm not able, or I don't go there pretty often. And I'm also interested in your reaction to it, because it has like kind of multiple factors in it, but I don't want to suggest anything. So what do you think about this?
Well, I was wanting to encourage Hubert to bypass his conscious mind and to go into the unconscious when I said the place where you could make sounds, but you couldn't talk yet. And so when we want to get out of linear thinking, we need to suspend that for a little bit. And yet the world is full of sounds. I mean, you can tune into the sound. If you're really sensitive, you can hear your own heartbeat. It's really phenomenal what you can do, and sounds are incredibly important. And so that was really what my motivation was. And that, yes, it will encourage going into a deeper trance, but it was really specific. Let's see if we can bypass the conscious mind. Let's see if we can go back in time to really the beginning is what I was thinking about. And where I differ from a lot of people is I have a lot of courage. It's like, well, why not? Let's try this. And then I said, we ask questions. That's what we do. So it's not about having all the answers. It's about having questions, having the curiosity.
So how in this context, by the way, that's actually genius. I mean, I didn't saw that coming. I mean, I was thinking about kind of like putting the idea of the mental block or something like that into the other context, but I wasn't thinking about even adding a more deeper level of actually addressing the unconscious processes in this indirect fashion. So that's actually pretty interesting. But how would you, in this context, interpret the response that Hubert gave?
Oh, that's easy. Is that that he was, you know, you were really engaged, Hubert, and yet you were still more in your linear mind of what you can and what you can't do. And that's the limit of the linear mind, is that it's not that we don't want to do more, but the linear mind says, oh no, this is as far as we go. And so that's why, you know, making the effort to see if we could bypass that even for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm. And then in the end, you stay pretty open. You go, okay, if you can, you can. If you don't, you don't. I mean, that's how I understand the communication that's in the beginning of this part. Mm-hmm. Would you like to comment on that, Hubert? Do you have some of you know, your own kind of way of looking at it, or your experiences here?
That I would definitely like to try some more bypassing the linear mind. And I'm pretty sure I would very enjoy that if I'm able.
Oh, you are.
For the short moments, I definitely think that it will be very, very enjoyable. And by the time I was just trying to focus, I don't remember that well the words that you were using, but I remember the mood of the story, like what you are taking me to. But I was not able to try to concentrate and to focus on the specific word at the same time. It was like the mood, the melody of I know the direction that we are coming, but I don't remember the words that you were using.
Of course not, because you were in the process of leaving your linear mind. Yeah. So it wasn't about remembering anything. It was about going to something that's new, that's different.
Yeah. And right now, the second experience of when you're talking about, when I hear about just being able to communicate with the sounds, hearing only sounds, not words, not language, it's like another layer, because right now it triggers my thinking about this kind of stuff. So right now I am the same thing that we were doing. Right now I have absolutely different feelings than by the time when we were actually during the session. Now it's more on the philosophy side of things, and then it was more on the overall mood and vibe it was getting. Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of going back and looking at these things. And what I was really struck with, because in starting, you know, today with right into the heart of it, I don't realize when I'm working with someone when my voice really slows down. You know, it really slows down. It's a natural thing that happens. It's not, I don't design to talk really slow, but in this instance, giving a lot of space for other things to happen, because it's not actually about the words, of even if one hears the words. But as you said, you know, it's like the melody, it's like the vibe, you know, it's that sort of thing that encourages an internal quest.
Okay. So let's go further with the recording.
Okay.
Thank you.
I can remember being in the incubator. I was born premature, and I shook a lot. And I didn't know if I wanted to live or let go. And then somebody brought a mobile in that had shapes, and the shapes moved. And I said to myself, even though I was only days old, I think I want to hang around. I like these shapes. I like the movement in my body. Most people don't remember back that far, but I actually do. I don't know why. I still love shapes, particularly love shapes and colors, and movement, particularly with the hands, to be able to tell whatever story, whatever is important, is we have memory to help us with today. Memory is not just for memory. It's to help us for today.
Yeah, to live a bit in the same style, the same mood of not caring too much about anything and immersing in what you do a lot.
Exactly.
When there's a game and you actually pretend, I don't know, that your bicycle is a car, in that time it was really a car. And right now, you know, you're pretending, and then it was definitely a car or a Transformers or something like that.
Yes.
That was nice. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
What is going on here? I mean, you know, I mean, you know, so many things. I can understand that you are mentioning this pretty early experience to facilitate regression and you know, remember, and the memory and early memories and stuff like that. But this is also a mentioning of a something that can be seen as trauma or something difficult, and a very difficult choice between life and living and, you know, going away. So and then the response that Hubert gave to this, that, you know, the response of actually playing and creating things, and, you know, how did one came out, you know, into the form of the other? What is it? I mean, you know, I'm lost.
Well, there's a lot to pack in that little interlude, and that I told my very early story because I was saying it's possible some people really can go way back. And then I again was going into the place of bypassing the conscious mind, where there's colors and shapes and movement. And that my belief is that this is what creates each one of us individually, is that we, you know, we have these senses, eyes, ears, touch, you know, this sort of thing, and that and then it's what we end up doing with it. And for me, there was zero trauma involved in it, even at the time. It's like early on, it was just this little question: do I want to stay or do I want to let go? That I specifically remember. It was not traumatic. It was just a simple question. The other question that it could be, why do I want to stay? Like, what's in this for me right now? And what was in it for me to stay when I was, you know, had that choice as an infant is, these are the things I like. Turns out I like them today. But that when I'm with Hubert and helping to lead him into his inner self, his inner soul, I'm really with him. I'm having this experience with him, this memory with him, and so that he can have this support to be able to go to wherever he wanted to go. I also was introducing, with the shaking, I was introducing more hand movement, of which he mirrored. And again, you know, we all have our own philosophies of what works. And for me, anything when you're associated with body, you know, it's body mind to me, it's not mind body. Mm-hmm. And so having these movements, and then to have him go into, you know, really a delightful memory. And then as the memory was happening, I did do something strategic. I did a yes set. I said 3 yeses. Mm-hmm. And that's, you know, to anchor that good job, Hubert, keep going. Here is this yes set.
Yeah, it's also kind of enforcement of what's going on, facilitates more.
Yeah, you know, and so I use yes sets infrequently, but when I use them, it's really to say, you know, good job, good job, good job is really what I'm saying. I'm not reinforcing any one thing in particular, but it's that, you know, good job, this is going well. You're experiencing some things now that are good and are also bypassing the conscious mind.
Okay, is there also another possibility? I mean, came to my mind now that this process of you know, this early memory and this decision, could that also be modeling of the process of actually making a decision of, you know, either you go or you stay, either you do something or you don't, you know, so the process of actually making a conscious, like, you know, firm decision and then following it or not, may that also be like reference to that kind of process, seeding?
Well, that's a possibility, because there was the question of, do I want to write? Do I not want to write? You know, I mean, this sort of thing. So there was the ambivalence that had been going on. And so I don't know if right in that moment I was thinking that, but certainly that had to have been in the back of my mind, of the curiosity of what's he gonna do? And we know the outcome of that because I just read the 19 pages of this story that is fabulous. And so something, you know, in maybe small part from me, but that woke up the ease of making that commitment. So it's possible, but was I thinking that at the time? I'm really not sure.
Okay, because, you know, it came to me when I was listening to it, kind of parallel associations that came to me was two stories from Erickson. One was, I don't know if you know them, one was about Max and Wanda. The people, Max was a junior psychiatrist at, I believe, at Eloise Hospital, and Wanda was his wife. And it was a story about how they went to a lake and, you know, got swimming, and Max said in short, I think I'm gonna be swimming tomorrow. And he was doing that all the time, and, you know, putting everything into another time. And then the director of the hospital or someone offered him a job and the promotion to a senior psychiatrist, and Max said, I don't think I'm ready yet. And the guy said, if I thought you are not ready, I would not offer it to you. Either you take the job or you are out of the job. And Erickson says, so Max resigned, went elsewhere, you know, and I lost track of them. And then he said that the story ended in such a way that he met them on some kind of seminar years, like decades later, and that Max retired as a junior psychiatrist, and, you know, things like that. And then the other story was about Jimmy, who was coming to a place where Milton was living, or probably was when he was a young boy, and Jimmy was sitting. He sat on a bank somewhere near some river or something and said, as God makes a little green apples, I'm gonna be swimming tomorrow. And then he says Jimmy went to a First World War. Then Jimmy did something, and then he did it something, and then someone asked, you know, and then like it's like he ends the story with like just this, and then someone says, So someone asked Erickson, so what happened to Jimmy? And Erickson says, Jimmy is dead of old age. He never,
of old age.
yeah, he never did go. Such a waste of time. You know, so I was like, somehow your story about, you know, making this decision launched in me those associations with these two stories. So I was like thinking, maybe this also, I mean, in my case, if you were working with me, that would probably launch associations with making a conscious decision and, you know, like telling myself, okay, I may be ready to commit to this, whatever that is.
Well, and the thing is it's a choice. And the most important thing we ever have in life is choice. Is if you have a choice, then creativity flows. You know, if you feel like you've got to toe the mark or satisfy, you know, somebody else, creativity gets shut down. And so I rather admire the story of the junior psychiatrist, because clearly he was not ready for that step up. And so that he knew something about himself. And so it's not that it's a tragedy that he didn't progress. It's that he knew something about himself, and perhaps he wanted beginner's mind. Perhaps he didn't want the responsibility that came with being the senior psychiatrist. Maybe he just wanted to work effectively with patients. You know, it's hard to know all those things. That it's so important that we don't make value judgments on these things. Is that my priority is creativity. And that, you know, some of the things that you bring with yourself, of like who you are, what you believe in, what are your ethics, what are your morals. And I've never had anybody disagree that creativity as a priority is a good idea. But, you know, it is one of those things that motivates me. So when I meet someone as creative as you are, Hubert, it's like, I want to support you. You know, I want to do what I can. And even if that's being an example of being creative, being courageous, it's that in that way of how can I be supportive? And because, you know, whether it's creativity or courage, it's like both of those things are in my top 10 of important assets to develop in oneself. And there's been a lot of talk recently about fear, people being so afraid. And to me, the opposite of fear is courage. And it's not lost on me, the word encouragement, you know, is to help people to find their own courage and their own way of finding their place in the world that is the most satisfying.
And at the time when I was watching also this part, I particularly enjoyed the mention of the shapes and colors and this kind of stuff, especially when you said that you remember the incubator times. And at the time when I was trying to put myself fully into that, I was imagining something like more or less like a Grateful Dead kind of stuff, music with, you know, LSD type shapes, colors, and this, and just thinking about me made me more into like this kind of states, which I, of course, have never tried LSD or something like that, but I saw on Scooby-Doo or somewhere else what happens when you do this, and it is always the description of this moving shapes kind of stuff. So that was helping me a lot of immersing into that, especially with the American accent. It was more easy to find it to go into that kind of vibe of like you know, Woodstock, Grateful Dead, this kind of stuff. and I remember that it was helping me to go and you know, people sitting around and saying, I remember being an incubator, and the other said, oh, that's awesome. This kind of stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, that was, I definitely enjoyed the mentioning of the shapes and size, because it was in my mind that as what it will be nice for me to see, and mentioning of it was oh yeah, it was a very nice trigger for me to go into that side. Or even the sole mention of the word shapes made me help to see actual like diamonds and other kind of stuff, like Beatles White Album or this kind of stuff.
We like the same music.
Yeah, on the other hand, there's also another level here. You know, you are speaking about if to you know, stay in this world and why, or go away, and he goes, Grateful Dead.
Actually, I remember there is this good story of, with Oliver Sacks, that he was having this guy who was stuck in the past, in the Grateful Dead times, and didn't have the newer memories. You remember that story?
I don't remember that one.
There was a guy who's got, I think, tumor in his brain or something, and every day his newest memory was erased, but he had a very, very, very good memory of 60s, and next 30 years he was absolutely sure that he is like living in a and he was a great fan of Grateful Dead, and he was living like in the constant Grateful Dead concert, and doesn't remember the next 30 years. So
it's not a bad place to be stuck.
Yeah.
And at least, you know, I mean, the positive nature of that, you know, I mean, is very interesting, but it also makes me so grateful that we have our brains continue to grow. And, you know, it's not a given that there can be things that interfere with that, but how grateful I am that we have that.
True. Okay, so let's go further with the recording.
Actually, one of the earliest things I remember, which, as you can see, it's still important, when I was around 3, I saw a t-shirt from Iron Maiden, the Fear of the Dark album, when the monster is going out of the tree. And for me, it was like a real monster, not a t-shirt, not a merchandise. It was a really scary monster coming out of the tree. And it gave me this certain feeling that after 32 years, I still like Iron Maiden. And I still love this album cover. But I think that it's good to actually sometimes feel that this picture or this thing, it's a real deal. It's like a real thing coming out of a tree, and not a merchandise designed by some professionals or this kind of stuff.
You only hope the one that designed it experienced it like you. That's why it's so powerful. And of course, Iron Maiden's great.
Yeah.
They're great. But yeah, that being able to see as you did when you were 3, being able to see the world in your way. You didn't know how anyone else saw the world. You just knew how you did. And how extraordinary is that? What a gift. You didn't see linear, Hubert. You saw in 3D. What a gift.
What a happy memory. I mean, this is the part that I remember the most about our time together.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was just such a high, you know, with every realm of it was such a high. That you broke through to go to earlier times was really a high. That you know, you vividly saw this album cover, and it was real. It was in 3D. It was a monster coming out at you, and I ratified, in your own way, that you didn't see it like anyone else, but in your own way. And what a gift. And the gift just keeps on giving, doesn't it?
So you are underlying here the creative aspect of this experience? Facilitate.
The creative aspect, but also it's like, seriously, it was a high. I mean, and when you get to go to a high, stay there for a few minutes. Again, there's so many lows in life, and there it is.
Yeah.
Love it, love it, love it. Remember it.
Coming out from the tree.
Look, it's everywhere. But when you have something that's so positive, which is like a stage 3, it's really the aha. It's not about even what you're going to do with it. But when you're in a stage 3, it's like, stay there for a little bit. Make sure that you can hold on to it, and that you can hold on and remember, not that it's just going to be passed on to oblivion. And so what was going on in my mind at that particular point is breakthrough. Yes.
Thinking about if I have any more questions, you probably addressed everything. Although I need to address here one very important question to prove to our listeners that people can actually argue about anything. I prefer way more Black Sabbath to Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
And
I know you're always telling me that you don't like Iron Maiden and that you don't like Bruce Dickinson, and I'm very happy that I was talking about Iron Maiden on your with you.
I am absolutely convinced that Black Sabbath is way better. And I'm just saying that to prove that people can argue about anything.
Yeah. But actually, right now, I remember it even better. It was kind of a pajama that was brought by some of the family from Germany, and it was kind of like a fluorescent stuff, like this moon was shining. It was like something that in 92, 91 in Poland was like absolutely unusual. It was from the family from Germany, like a very unusual type of stuff, which probably my mom was thinking like, what on earth they gave it to the child. Like, who had this idea to give him a monster on the t-shirt? But it was very, very nice. And as I don't remember, I didn't notice it by the time, but now when I was listening to it again, I've really enjoyed when you're saying that it was a time when you only knew your own way of looking at the world, and you didn't know that other people got other stuff, and you were very focused on your own way. I didn't notice by the time, and now I find it very, very interesting as a nice tool actually in writing, that to be able to, I don't know, while creating a character and being close with the character, that try to immerse people with his or her point of view, the worldview that is very specific to that person. Like if she's not aware of anybody having other points of views or other, I don't know, expectations of stuff like that. Doing the immerse, choose one and go deep dive into that. It's I think I should think about it more.
Well, you do it naturally. And yes, as a writer, the most important thing is it comes from your view, not from someone else's. Otherwise, it's not alive. It's like hearsay when it's from someone else's point of view. And it's so surprising to me. This has been true for all of time, is that one's personal point of view is not necessarily honored, by oneself or by others. And yet, isn't that where happiness lives? when you can, have your own point of view, whether it's Iron Maiden or Black Sabbath, the beauty of having your own point of view. And that it's just, that's another high value of mine. But I also knew, as I was saying that, I was thinking about your writing.
So indirectly also bringing up or activating new associations connected with creative process in terms of creating ideas.
But as you hear some of these things, let me ask you this important question, Hubert. Do you trust me more now?
Yeah, definitely. With every meeting.
Well, because when you think about it as a psychotherapist, that trust is really important, and the trust comes from really being honest, where there's zero manipulation, but just plain being honest. But I do plant seeds. Some seeds grow, maybe some seeds don't grow, but this was definitely a seed. Is seeing it in your own way is absolutely a seed. I'm not, usually I'm just flowing with things. Oh, sorry, go ahead, please.
As I just said, I didn't notice it by the time, this set of words, and it's right now I find it very interesting.
But it goes someplace inside. That's the thing with hypnosis, is that you take it in on some level, and when it resonates, it just goes deep and stays there.
Yeah, and that's also a part of what indirect approach is, that you don't need to, most of the times you don't notice a lot of things that's going on, but they actually resonate inside. And many times people, after, going through the course of treatment in such a way, they can feel the difference, experience the change, but many times they, at least at some point in a treatment, they don't know where it's coming from, at least some of it.
I want this set of pajamas. I wonder if they make it in my size now.
Yeah, I would like to see it.
I think it was like in 91, 92 or something like that. So I'm pretty sure it's kind of rare now.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
For sure you have a photo of yourself in it or something.
No, I have no photographs with that, and I don't have it, unfortunately. But what I find interesting right now, that you can really like a band and have the very good memory of the band and being very emotionally associated with, without actually hearing their music. Because I have no idea how Iron Maiden sound for many years later. So it was very nice. One of my biggest music memories is not connected even with music and without any sounds. That's a nice thing. And still I buy mostly, when I buy CDs, I usually buy the ones which have nice cover artwork, because I think that if the cover is nice, the music is usually also good. And the CDs with very bad cover artwork are usually bad, because I think if they were good, they will have good art as well. Well, usually.
Maybe sometimes that works. Okay, so we're back online, at least in my case. So let us go back to the recording.
When you're a novelist, you need to see in 3D, in my opinion, where it's not just words on the page or plots or plot twists, but it's this 3D experience with words. That's right. Where you bring it together in a way no one has before.
Just a small pause to ask one question. Is this part actually more directly combining all the things that you seeded or activated before, more directly with the art of writing and creating novels, or
There's definitely a bridge, and but you can see I'm really in trance. And I mean, the fact that I'm got crazy hands, right? It's and at the time, I know we're going to maybe see if we could do something a little bit different to be able to show what was happening with Hubert at this time. Was I mimicking what he was doing, or was how did that go?
Yeah, I'll try my best to show this.
Because like in this instance, I'm not the important character here, but you can see this courage to look so strange as a therapist, instead of, well then, with my hands in my lap and whatnot, and in my linear mind. And so if all was going well, and I suspect that it was, is that we were sharing a close mind connection, that our mirror neurons were dovetailing with each other, and we were sharing a mind connection at that time.
Okay, cool, super, thank you. This was another episode of our Experiencing Consciousness podcast. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Jan. You're the best. Be well, be happy, celebrate life.